I used to worry about my anxiety. I thought it made me unreliable, but here's the truth. I wouldn't be as successful as I am today without it. Anxiety made me prepare better, track details like a hawk, think 2 steps ahead before I speak, and it made me care how my words land with my people. If you feel wired like this, you're not broken. You're built for precision. Stay with me. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how I turn anxious energy into better leadership. I'll give you the exact words I use before hard conversations and a simple note card I use at night when my brain wants to race. Let's get after it. Anxiety can feel like a storm inside your chest. Racing thoughts, what if I'm missing something? Did I say that wrong? I felt that way for years. Then I noticed a pattern. The same traits that made my heart pound were the traits that made my teams trust me. I overprepared because I worried about letting people down. I tracked details because I was afraid I would drop the ball. I overthought conversations because I wanted people to hear the message without any confusion or emotion. That's not a weakness, that's discipline powered by sensitivity. So today, I'm going to walk you through 4 ways I use anxiety as a weapon. Overprepare without wasting time, track the right things so nothing slips, think ahead just enough to avoid the landmines, say it so people can hear it. I'll share real phrases I use and a closing story where this saved me. Let me share 3 real moments. Each time, anxiety helped. Moment 1, a high-stakes briefing. My brain ran every what if. Instead of fighting it, I wrote them down. What if they ask about risk? What if they challenge the timeline? What if they think the plan has too many roadblocks? I wrote down a single sentence answer for each what if. During the brief, some of those questions came up. I already had the answers. That wasn't luck. That was my anxious brain doing recon before I started the adventure. Moment number 2. An operational day with moving parts. I worried I'd forget a handoff. That worry kept me updating my list and checking back with all my people. Over time, my team learned to trust that if I said I was going to follow up, that I would. Trust is built one kept promise at a time. Anxiety has helped keep me honest. Moment 3, a hard conversation with a peer. I was afraid I'd come in hot or they would twist my words. That fear made me slow down and choose language that couldn't be misread. The result was direct, respectful talk that fixed the problem and it helped me protect the relationship. Over-preparation is my first advantage, but I don't hide in the bunker. I use a short, focused drill. Here's what I do. First, I write down the 3 most likely questions I'll get. Not 30, just 3. Then I ask myself, if I was on the other side of the table, what would I challenge and what would I want to know? I write down those questions. Second, I write 1-sentence answers. If I can't say it cleanly in 1 line, I'm not ready. I give myself 10 minutes to refine each one of those answers, not 3 hours. 10 minutes each. Third, I stop at good enough. If I catch myself touching the same slide for the 100th time, I'm not preparing. I'm letting the anxiety win. That's my cue to put it down and rehearse out loud instead. No notes, no slide deck, just simple language and practice until I feel ready. Here's a quick example. If we had a big review on Friday, I know that they're going to ask about the risk, they're going to ask about the timeline, and probably ask about the quality. Here are my 1-sentence answers. Risk, the top risk is that the timeline will slip and we're containing it by weekly checkpoints. Timeline, we're on track for June 30th with 2 schedule buffers that protect the delivery. Quality, to protect the quality, we're running 2 peer reviews per milestone and we have a final gate review before we release the product. Clean, calm, and ready. Next, anxiety has made me an elite tracker. I track because I hate to let people down. I use a 2-part system that keeps me organized. I use my short-term and long-term memory system. Check it out in my other video. I break it down in detail so you can level up your tracking and planning game. In short, I use my notebook to take notes throughout the day and throughout the week. That's my short-term memory tracker. At the end of the week, if I can't get it done or it's got a long deadline, I transfer all of those items into my personal Excel tracker. This stops me from having to rewrite 100 times or having to look back 20 pages in my notebook. saving me countless hours along the way. Once it's all transferred, I line out those items and I line out those pages. This keeps me from worrying if I miss something back in the other pages in my notebook, cutting through my anxiety. Over the years, I've also come to realize that I need to schedule time for planning at the start and at the end of my day. I begin and end every day by realigning all of the items from my long-term tracker into my personal to-do list. I balance these items with what's going on in the schedule. Finding a balance is a key, and a critical question I look at is what needs to be done or it will fail. Next, I ask, what can I put calories into to save stress down the road? These two questions help me prioritize my day, and they reduce my anxiety. At the end of the day, you need a system that lets you see through and see everything in one spot together. That's why I built this two-part system. Training for your division, due in 7 months, long-term memory tracker, low priority, but I'll never forget that deadline. When the day is light, I'll throw those long-term items on the work list. As a leader, steady strain approach is key, and a tracking system helps us do that. That's anxiety, keeping us honest, focused, and prepared. Overthinking has a bad reputation. It deserves it when it turns into paralysis. I use my overthinking like a flashlight. Short, focused, and useful. I adopted an 80% rule. When it comes to making decisions, I used to flesh out every detail, and it felt like I needed every single thing in place for the plan to move forward. In a fast-paced world or a crisis, you don't have the luxury of knowing 100% of the details. What I do, I get 80% of the information and make the most informed decision possible. If I waited, inaction would come at a cost, and sometimes that cost can be life or death. In the same vein, if the decision has time, it's okay to slow it down. This is especially important when making cultural changes or policies that will affect your entire team. The key isn't to obsess over every little detail or what if. Analyze the impact and move. This is how anxiety becomes foresight and forward momentum instead of fear. Get 80% of the information and then you act. One gift of anxiety is that I care about how my words land with my team. That makes me a better communicator if I slow down. When I have to write a tough email or walk into a hard meeting, I plan ahead on how I want to say something, even down to how I have my body language. This organization ahead of time helps me deliver my message clearly and calmly. This approach helps me resonate with the team. It builds trust because I'm collected as a leader. Some leaders are great at winging it, but the majority of us aren't. Use your anxiety to prepare for these moments. Here's another life pro tip for speaking in front of people. Embrace your pauses when you speak. I promise they aren't as long as your brain's anxiety is telling you that they are. Don't fill them with pause words either. Pause, collect your thoughts, and move on. Trust me, it works and it makes you sound like a better speaker. When your anxiety spikes, especially at night before a big day, I use a note card. 3 lines. What matters most? What can I control today? And who needs to hear from me when I'm at work? I fill those in, I put the card on my keyboard, then I go to bed. It's simple and it works. Another thing I've learned is that when my mind is racing or worried about a project, I get up and I put in some of the work on what my brain's worried about. Why do you think I've got this YouTube channel? Seriously though, using my anxiety to move a project along is a superpower. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't get any sleep anyway, so spending an hour working on it helps my brain feel satisfied. This mindset has really helped me in the last few years get up, do some work, let my brain rest, and then go to sleep. If this video helped you, subscribe for real leadership tactics. I drop them every single week at 9 a.m. on Friday. Drop your biggest anxiety spike at work in the comments and I'll reply with one move that you can use this week to help you get across your anxiety. Remember, if you're an anxious leader, you're not broken. You're built for precision. Use that sensitivity. Use the worry, aim it, and your team will feel the difference. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. I'll see you next week.